Hello friends. So today we would talk about the output clause. Okay. And as usual, the agenda would be initially just we would know very briefly we would be understanding what is an output clause, and then I would show you two demo. One is using the output clause for maintaining the data change history, and second one is using the output clause for maintaining the master detail relationship. Okay. So what is an output clause? Output clause is a clause which you can use with the your insert, update, and delete, right? So basically, it returns information for each row affected by insert, update, and delete, or even the merge statement. Okay. Results can be directly used or can be inserted in temp table or table variable for the further use. So whatever the output is there, right? You can use that initially you can insert them into temp table or a table variable, and then further you can use across the procedure whenever required. Update, insert, and delete statement that has an output clause will return rows to the client even if the statement encounters errors and is rolled back. Such result should not be used, right? So with this output clause, if your transactions, if you are doing this DML operations within the transaction and if something goes wrong and if it is, rollbacks, the DML statements, right, or the DML operations, right, still the output clause will create those, output data. So such result should not be used. Of course, output clause comes with some of the more limitations also. You can actually go to this official Microsoft site to know more about the limitations on an output clause. Okay. If anybody has worked on the uh, triggers, right? Then we know that earlier we used to maintain these triggers or used to use these triggers for generally, keeping the audit data, right? And trigger usually has those two magic tables called as an inserted and deleted, right? Same way, those magic tables are now available with the output clause as well, right? So with the help of those inserted and deleted table from the output clause, you can do lot many things like keeping the track of the data, the change data, and maintaining the audit history or the historical data. Similarly, very useful is getting the identity value from the master table and then inserting that into the detail table. So today, I would be showing you both this demo. Yeah. So as usual, let's action this and let me get my management studio. So yeah, we are in the management studio. So initially, I would show you, how output clause can be used with in maintaining the master detail relationship. Let me first create two tables. So if you can see here, we have two tables, sales order and sales order details, right? And there are only few columns like order ID in sales order, which is an identity column, and customer name. Okay, and in sales order detail, we have order detail ID, the order ID, which is actually mapping or pointing to the sales order, right? And the product name and the quantity. Okay, so this is the structure, very basic structure of sales order and sales order details. Okay, and I have the data here like this. So for example, customer name, product name, and the quantity. Okay, so in earlier days, when output clause was not there, how we used to do that, right? Uh, we used to actually insert the customer name first into the sales order table, right? Then with the help of scope identity, we used to take whatever the identity was created, and then using those identity, we were actually inserting the record into sales order detail related to product name and quantity. Okay, right? So this is a sales data which I have got from the customer, and I need to insert that into this table, sales order and sales detail table. Okay. So how we used to do that? So initially what we can do is we can generate the row number, row ID for each, right? And then iterating through each row, starting from row 1, 2, 3, 4. So for example, I would first read or insert the data into sales order with only customer name. Once it get inserted, right, with the help of scope identity, we can get the order ID, and then we can use that same order ID to insert the data into sales order detail table for the same row, but here we would be inserting order ID, product name, and quantity. Got the point? And this, we need to iterate this. right? So if I iterate this, if I execute this code now, then you can see everything is being inserted. And if I show you the tables, then it looks like this, that in my sales order table, order ID customer A, and for that same customer ID, customer uh, A, uh, the order ID which one was generated, we inserted that same into sales order detail with product A and quantity as 10, and similarly so on for the all the records, right? So initially we used to do this for inserting the records in the master table and then into the detail table, right? But with the output clause, it has become so easy, right? Now let us see the demo with the output clause, right? Let me again remove those tables, data from those tables. So if you can see, we don't have any data. Sales, we have the data from sales. We have the data in a sales data. Okay. Now you can see it has become so simple that initially. You can use this output clause. So for that, what I have done is I have just created one table called records affected. Okay, same a temporary table. And what I'm actually using this records affected for, I have created two columns. One is an order ID and another one is in customer name. Okay. So as soon as I would insert a record, right, into the sales order table from the sales data, right, with the help of output clause, I would insert the record order ID generated, right, into this column and the customer name into this column. Okay. And you can see how output clause you can use is. So if I have written insert into sales order, and I'm inserting customer name from this sales data. Okay. But in between that, there is a clause called output clause, which means what? Whatever, whenever you insert, so after insert, you can output whatever is being inserted to a temporary table. So this is our temporary table. So what I'm saying, okay, output, what we have written is output clause, and then you can see the same inserted table, inserted order ID. Now this is, if you have seen, then this is an identity column, right? So whatever order ID generated, actually that order ID would be fetched, okay? And then a customer name, and then I'm inserting that into the records affected. And then and what we are actually inserting, we are inserting only customer name from sales data. So if I execute this query, okay, let me first create, right, and when I execute this query, you can see my affected record contains 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is the order ID generated into my sales order table. Now it becomes very simple. I just, map this records affected, okay, with again the sales data, right, on the customer name so that I can get this order ID, and then I insert the remaining data from the sales data into my sales order table, that is order ID, product name, and quantity. Okay, so you can see here we have joined sales data, which is the original table, with my records affected on my customer name is equal to customer name. Okay, so my customer name contains order ID 1, B2, and so on. And when I actually insert or execute this query, now you can see the data has been generated very successfully and properly. So for example, customer A order ID was 1. So for, you can see customer A, product A and 10. So same order ID is being used for product A and 10. Similarly, product B 20 and so on. Right. Now during this demo, I don't know whether you have noticed or not, the iteration has totally gone. Okay, you can see here with the help of output clause, you just have to write two insert statement. There is no iteration or no looping through the records. In older, in a older way, you can see we were actually looping into this. But here you can see there is no looping, only simply initially insert the record into sales order, and then uh, output whatever has been inserted into the affected records, and then join that table again back to the whatever original table was there, and insert the remaining columns or the values into sales order detail. So you can see here the task has become very very simple, right? Here we used to write the while loop, but here there is no while loop, and this is a huge benefit of an output clause. Okay, so this was related to maintaining the master detail relationship. Now let us see how we can use this for auditing purposes. Okay, so initially, let me create table. Okay, this is an employee table and this is an employee audit table. So let me show you both the tables. They are identical. So here I have taken one employee table, EMP ID, EMP name, and my audit table contains EMP ID, EMP name, action type, and action date simply. And again here I am doing the same thing, right? Whatever record affected, right? I have created the uh, temporary table with the same schema of my employee audit. Okay, so let me create this, execute. Okay, and now I'm inserting some record here. So you can see initially I have inserted three records, one, two, and three. And with the help of output clause, I'm putting those inserted values into my affected records, and then simply I'm inserting the values from these affected records into my employee audit. Okay. So let us do this. So you can see three records would be inserted here. Now here, as it is an insert, right? So there would be not an old employee name. Okay. So we have done this for whenever the update would happen. So I would show you that update also. And then from insert from my affected record table, I'm putting all the rows again back into my employee audit. Okay. And when you see this, now you can see we actually inserted three records into my main table, base table, and the three records actually got inserted into my audit table also, right? With the timestamp. Okay, now let us see how does this work for an update record. Okay, so truncate table, affected records. Initially, I'm truncating my temporary table. And now here, this is very interesting. I'm updating one record. Okay, let me show you the record first. So what I'm saying, okay, I'm updating the two records, the second and third one with a where clause EMP ID greater than 2. So Mandar and Rohit, and I'm just, suffixing it with an altered record. But very important or very, main thing to watch here is that in my affected records, you can see inserted.emp ID, inserted.emp name, and deleted.emp name. Now, what is the structure of my affected records? You can see employee name and old employee name. So, with the help of output clause, as we were getting in a triggers during the update, we were getting the values or the rows in both the table, that is inserted and deleted. Similarly, here also we would get values in both the table, that is inserted and deleted. So what we are doing, we are putting inserted.employee name into my original employee name column, because this is being altered column, right? This is the new name, and my deleted, which was deleted, we are putting that into my old EMP name. Okay, and then action as required. Okay, so when I exactly do this, now you can see in my affected record there will be two records, and you can see here Mandar altered is my new name and old name was Mandar. Okay, and then simply you put this back into my employee audit. Okay, of course in employee audit, because this contains, both the record contains the employee name and old employee name, right? So you need to actually insert the values into employee audit, that is records into employee audit two times from the affected records. One is with a new value and one is with the old value. Okay, so with new value I think we have already done, and this is with the old value. So now if you can see here, there are two records altered, and here you can see Mandar altered, Rohit altered, and Mandar and Rohit, because these were update record with old value and update record with the new value, right? So with the update, you need two records needs to be inserted if you want to keep a real, history of the data changes. And similarly, you can do with the delete, and you can say, okay, I'm actually removing one row, that is Akanksha, and we have written that output deleted employee ID, deleted employee name into affected record, and then we would be putting that back into the uh, main audit table. So let me truncate this. I'm executing this delete statement and I'm inserting the value into employee audit. And now if you see both the tables, you can see from my base table, Akanksha has been removed and it has been actually used, inserted into my employee audit table, right? So this way we can, maintain the audit history or the change history of the change data history, right? So this was an output clause, which is very very useful, right? So you don't now have to write the triggers at all for insert, update, and delete. With the help of simply output clause, you can, you can achieve the same functionality which you are using, into the triggers, right? And these are the only two various ways you can use output clause in various ways, and which is a very very useful clause. Okay. Hope you have liked this video, guys. If you have liked it, please, press the bell icon and press the like button also, and share this, videos with your colleagues and friends so that everyone can benefit from it, right? And don't forget to subscribe the channel, right? Yep. Then meet you next time with next good topic. Till then, bye. Take care.